What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 67 of the Flu Flicker NFL show. We're almost about to hit Gronk's favorite number, but that's besides the point. I'm your host, Arif Umar, and I'm once again joined by my great co-host, Amal Ronek. And we've got a great show for you guys today with our offensive rankings for that 2021 NFL draft. But before I get into that, what is going on with you today, Amal?
What's up, Reeb? Yeah, lots to talk about this week. News is not, like we said, not a lot of news that happened this past week, but we're getting a week closer to the NFL draft, probably the most anticipated draft in the past couple of years. We're gonna go through our like you said, the offensive rankings of our prospects. Some will vary. We'll probably do top five for some, top 10, top 8, top 15. We'll it'll vary based on the position, so we'll go through that, and it's gonna be consensus ranking. So it'll be my input along with Arib's input, and yeah, this will be a fun one for sure. To start off with, though, we will head into some news. I think there's not really too much news, like I said before. The major news, of course, being that Patriots star wide receiver Julian Edelman has retired. The Patriots terminated the contract because he failed the physical, and then after that, Julian Edelman announced his retirement. I mean, for me, Reeb, I still don't believe he's fully retired. I think he will return to play. I think he's probably going to go to the Bucks still. That's just me. A lot of these dudes, like I know Edelman definitely wished he was on the Bucks last year. He even expressed it publicly many times. Maybe not directly, but he would always like be like, damn, I wish I was in like in Brady's spot. Like and I guess that's something that he missed out on last year, and adding another Super Bowl ring could have been that for him. But yeah, I think if this is all that it is for Edelman, he's had a great playoff career, great regular season career too. He's been the wide receiver one many times for the New England Patriots year in and year out. He did have his injury record. He did have quite an injury record, I should say. So the injury just kept on creeping up on him, and eventually he had to call it quits. And even this past year, his last year, he's missed a lot of games. So I definitely respect the decision, and I think he may have made the right one here, and ending it here. Great legacy, Hall of Fame career. I think it's up to the public to decide that. I think I should say the Hall of Fame voters to decide that. Obviously, he's made quite the impact in the playoffs for the Patriots. He's been probably the most valuable player for that Patriots offense, minus Tom Brady in the playoffs. I can definitely say that. Regular season impact, I don't know if he has necessarily any regular season impact because Tom Brady just gets the job done in the regular season, no matter who the weapons are. But that being said, this is just a respect to Julian Edelman. He's won multiple Super Bowl rings, won the Super Bowl MVP. That's a big accomplishment too. Great career, and wish him nothing but the best for the future.
Yeah, and I think we've finally reached them all the point in the off season where people are retiring and we're gonna have our yearly is and insert name of player here, a Hall of Famer. And in my honest opinion, if you have to ask that question, then I don't believe you are a Hall of Famer. That being said, though, I don't want to take anything away from Julian Edelman's career. And I actually love Julian Edelman. He and Doug Baldwin were probably my two favorite wide receivers in the last like 5 years or so. I just love everything about Julian Edelman, his story, seventh round player. I mean, really, what the story of Julian Edelman is very similar to the story of a Tom Brady or someone like that, where you just grind your butt off and eventually, with enough luck, you can get to where you want to be in life. This guy was a college quarterback at what, Kent State? Like, I don't even know where Kent State is. I'll be honest. Like, I've heard the name before only because I know Julian Edelman went there, but really his story is the story that you grind your butt off, and if you try hard enough, you can achieve anything. And yeah, that's what his legacy is going to be. I don't really want to tarnish his legacy by saying, is he a Hall of Famer, is he not? I don't even think he'll probably think he's a Hall of Famer in all honesty, because I don't think he was ever a top 5 player at his position for any like sustainable amount of time. But that being said, his legacy shouldn't be taken away as whether or not he was a Hall of Famer. It should be that this guy was a 7th round pick, went from playing behind great players like Randy Moss and Wes Welker to literally being the most reliable target for the greatest quarterback of all time. And like you said, Super Bowl MVP for a wide receiver is super hard to do, and he got it done. So I think by sort of pivoting his retirement to is he a Hall of Famer? No, he's not a Hall of Famer because again, I take Julio Jones over him, Calvin Johnson, all these players. And people do say, yeah, he had great playoff stats. He also played a ton of playoff games, but also like if you were to include his playoff stats, that would be taken away from other players like Calvin Johnson, who never made the playoffs, or like a Brendan Marshall, who I think actually never made the playoffs. And those guys have, I mean, Calvin Johnson already made the Hall of Fame, and I think Brendan Marshall, just another guy off the top of my head, has a way better shot at making the Hall of Fame than Julian Edelman does. I think just narrowing it down to, oh yeah, his playoffs are really good is probably not the best way to go about it. Because was he ever the best wide receiver in the playoffs, even like throughout a certain stint in the playoffs? Like, I don't know. Like, that's definitely up for debate. But I think trying to pivot his thing to his conversation to is he a Hall of Famer is taking away from his legacy. Because again, his legacy is hard work and grinding it. And then eventually you can achieve whatever you want. But that is, I think, what the whole Julian Edelman conversation should be. Any other news, Amal? Actually, there's one piece I think. Jadeveon Clowney, former Tennessee Titan, former Seattle Seahawk, former Houston Texans first overall pick, has signed with the Cleveland Browns. And if I look at the Cleveland Browns roster right now, their depth chart, um, I've got to say I'm liking it, especially because I believe they lost Olivier Vernon, right, to free agency or retirement. I don't know where he went, to be honest, but they lost him. They brought in Malik Jackson for the interior defensive lineman. But other than that, their edge rushers were Myles Garrett and Tack McKinley. Like, that's just not the play if you want to have consistent edge pressure. And I believe Jadeveon Clowney, I don't think he's ever really been, he's never lived up to the hype of a first overall pick. Yeah, he's made a few Pro Bowls in there, but here and there, but he's never been like that true generational player that Myles Garrett has been, just comparing former first overall picks. Jadeveon Clowney, what he gives you is he gives you an ultimate disruptor. And if he's healthy, then you're going to get someone who's going to be able to pair pretty well with Myles Garrett in either maybe a full-time starting role or just even a rotational role if they decide to go edge later on in this draft, maybe in the first, second, or third rounds. I think he gives you some pretty good value. And at the end of the day, your defense sucked if you're Cleveland, and that's the reason why you didn't win, make it to the Super Bowl, and you weren't a legitimate Super Bowl team, was because your defense sucked. And I think they were literally ranked like 31st or something like that in points per game allowed. Rushing defense non-existent, passing defense non-existent, and getting Jadeveon Clowney, who I think might be the ultimate sidekick, is a great way to build your team and at least start building it before you actually do a lot of building in the draft.
Yeah, so I mean, the Browns tried to get Jadeveon Clowney last year, and they couldn't. They actually were offering him probably the most out of any other team. They were offering him, I think, close to 18 mil a year, multi-year deal, and Clowney turned it down. He said, I mean, I don't even know if it's what he said, but you can already assume he didn't trust the Browns franchise. They were known for losing, obviously, at the time, and yeah, he just said, "Well, I'll just sign with the Titans." Didn't have the best year last year, and now the Browns once again probably offered him the most money out of any other team, and even with 10 mil, I think this is still quite overpaid if you ask me. Uh, but if Clowney performs and he performs well, him and Myles Garrett with that defensive end tandem is it can be quite special. So yeah, I can see the benefits of this type of signing. I don't know if it'll pay off because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
Clowney hasn't had the best season, but if it works out, then this Browns defense is another piece to help bolster that team.
Yeah, and I think last year they were definitely a playoff team, but they weren't a Super Bowl contender. I think this brings them way closer to competing with the Chiefs, um,
Definitely.
and hopefully a healthy Patrick Mahomes next season if they do end up facing off in the playoffs. But yeah, any other news you want to talk about them all before we jump into our just starting with our quarterback rankings, I guess, for our 2021 NFL draft?
Uh yeah, not really. Any other news? James Conner signed with the Cardinals. I guess that's kind of interesting to see, considering Chase Edmonds is there too. But yeah, that's about it. James Conner didn't have the best year, so that's why I thought of that as kind of irrelevant news to bring up. Also, congrats to Aaron Rodgers for hosting Jeopardy the past 2 weeks. That's been quite fun
Mhm.
to watch. I have been watching that, and yeah, the first episode he looked kind of shaky, but yeah, the past 2 weeks, he's been killing it, and doing his job. So I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers post football host Jeopardy full time. I think he'd have a great personality for it. He's becoming more outgoing. I can definitely see with these interviews that he's doing. So yeah, I mean that's good on him. So that's
Mhm.
probably a great way to cap it off.
Yeah, gotta love Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is in the news for everything these days. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. Starting with our quarterback rankings, and for each of these positional groups, we're gonna have consensus rankings. Some of us haven't watched other players, so they're not going to be really in our consensus, but they're going to be guys we'll talk about in honorable mentions. Just for example, talking about quarterbacks, I've watched 8 quarterbacks. I'm also watched, I believe, 8 quarterbacks. But he does. I haven't watched Davis Mills. He has watched Davis Mills. So if you want to start with, I guess number ninth ranked Davis Mills for our consensus or whatever, just you can start with that. But if not, we can just jump into our consensus rankings and all.
Yeah, so Davis Mills was in my top eight. So obviously, like Arif said, I haven't looked at that many quarterbacks necessarily per se. So he is my eighth ranked quarterback. I mean, he's in my T. Actually, I have him higher, but 6 to 8 for me in terms of quarterbacks. I think they're all gonna go roughly in the same area. Davis Mills is a guy that is trending up. He had a great pro day, showed off a good arm. Davis Mills in high school was was a top quarterback prospect. I think he was number one, I believe,
Mm-hmm. 5 star
in his
recruit.
class, 5 star recruit. Um, the thing is with him, he was in and out of in and out of Stanford's lineup. Uh, he did play pretty well last year. He had I believe he had what's it called? He had 15. He's completed 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. Not a bad, but yeah, the main thing I like here is his arm. He has a good size, 6'4". Uh, I think he's decently mobile. Uh, yeah, there's not really too much to say with him. Just he has promise. So I can say that he's just because of the arm talent that I saw from him. Uh, I put him in my top eight.
Yeah, fair enough. And then we can start off going with number one. We both have Trevor Lawrence at number one. And just to preface this, neither of us are like quarterback gurus. So if we're not like, going all that depth, it's because we're literally not like NFL scouts. But
Exactly. Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
like about Trevor Lawrence, he has the production. He's a winner. He has the size. He has the arm talent. He has the ability to make every single throw. And I also think, yeah, like he I guess he sort of peaked almost his freshman year when he won the championship, the college championship, and he didn't really win one ever after that. But I think he did get better as a quarterback when it comes to processing, understanding, realizing what his flaws are. And I do believe Trevor Lawrence. I think he is a good leader for what you had in Clemson, and I think that's something that can't be understated. The one thing that people are going to knock him for is his processing ability because it's not as high as, say, a Zach Wilson or a Mac Jones, or he threw too many screens or whatever. And you know who else threw a lot of screens and all coming out of college and a lot of short stuff? Justin Herbert. That was one of the biggest knocks on Justin Herbert, that I think like 50% of his throws were screens or short, like bubbles and that type of stuff. And people are using that to knock him. And the thing is, I know Trevor Lawrence can make every single throw because we've seen him do it not only on his pro day, but in actual games on Saturdays. And yeah, I guess you could say his offense in Clemson was gimmicky and his accuracy was, kind of suspect sometimes when he was under pressure. But other than that, I think the only big flaw that I had with him is his pocket presence. I think that was sort of questionable at sometimes. Sometimes he's able to step up in the pocket, it all looks clean, but sometimes he just looked kind of wonky, and that led to some inaccuracies. But yeah, his offense was gimmicky, and he had a lot of short throws. But that, to me, isn't a reason to knock him out of number one spot. I think he's done the most. He's proved the most at the highest level of competition, and he's just a baller. So I think the Jaguars are going to enjoy having him.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think Trevor Lawrence, top 5 prospects of all time. Uh, and he like you said, he's the prototypical type of quarterback prospect that you want to have. He has a long delivery, gets the ball in hand quickly. Uh, his accuracy incredible. Like you said, he can make every single throw. You saw that, like you said before, in the pro day and even in games. The only weakness that I saw is not even a weakness. It's just like an improvement that he needs to make. Pocket awareness. I guess you can see that. In the he can't even see many flaws in his game, considering he's only lost 3 games in 3 years, right? So the only flaws I see in his game is just that you saw that in Ohio. Decision making is incredible. His speed is pretty good, Reeb. For his size. I think I think it's pretty decent speed that he has there, and
Hmm.
he's got that type of Andrew Luck type of running capability where like if he wants to run, he will run, and I think that's what I like about Trevor Lawrence. Uh, Hands down the number one prospect in this draft, and hands down our number one quarterback prospect in this draft.
Yeah, and then we can move on to number 2 and 3. And I have Justin. Oh, you have Justin Fields at number 2, and then I have Zach Wilson at 2, and then we have them flipped for number 3. So why do you
Interesting.
have Justin Fields at number 2? Because I've flip flopped back and forth, and I think I've come to the realization that I think I like Zach Wilson a little bit more. But why do you have Wilson at Fields at 2 rather?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's always interesting here. You can go both ways on it. You can say Justin Fields is better. You can go Zach Wilson's better. Some reap. You can. It really does go both ways here. Uh, I think the way Fields, he's a better athlete, man. From what I'm seeing, I think he's more talented. The thing is, I can't even say that because Zach Wilson's also extremely talented too. Wilson's got incredible footwork, incredible accuracy. Uh, he kind of looks like I don't know how to say this. He kind of looks like do you know Johnny Manziel back in college? It
Hmm.
reminds me of his athleticism. I saw that, but yeah, I like Zach Wilson. Um, it is close for me, like I said before, but I just like Fields. He looks more of a dynamic player than Zach Wilson, and I'd rather have than Zach Wilson. The problem with Zach Wilson, I guess, is really competition. I think that was probably the major thing here. The Zach Wilson played at BYU, didn't face many great competition, and then the only games that I got to watch game that I watched was against Coastal Carolina, and we already knew what happened there. So
Hmm.
I think the my main thing with there, and that's my same grade for even guys like Trey Lance, who we'll talk about. It's competition in that aspect, and you saw Justin Fields perform well against the best teams. The Big Ten was it was a bit underwhelming compared to previous years, but Justin Fields even last year, even the previous year, showed out against a very stacked Big Ten. And then this past year, even during the COVID season, he played very well, led his team to having an undefeated season until facing, of course, Alabama. So, uh, and his game against Clemson, I think that's what I think finally clicked in my mind that I think I have to keep Justin Fields at 2. And the other thing is, Arib, we I've been watching First Take a lot, and Stephen A has a very strong point here. After the college football playoff season ended and Alabama won, Justin Fields was consensus number 2. Everyone thought it was Lawrence Fields. And even there, people thought it's kind of close between those two, but everyone said Lawrence Fields as the top two. Then Zach Wilson magically, after playing 0 games, just magically started rising up. And he went from like 4 to 3 to 2. And then even some people have him above Lawrence. So I, it's an interesting narrative put out there. Um, Justin Fields is falling down many people's boards. I know there's been many rumors going around this past week about Mac Jones going to the Niners and Trey Lance maybe going ahead of Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields was our number 2 quarterback for sure, entering into right after the college football playoff season ended, right? And how can he go from 2 to 5 after performing 2 excellent pro days? From what I've heard, the first one was very good. I didn't think he missed a single ball. He looked incredible. And in the second one, he did with the Niners, I believe, and he looked great in that as well, from what I've heard. So I think the narrative put out there that Justin Fields should be falling, I don't like that. I truly do believe though that now we see the second best quarterback in this draft, and that's who I believe that is, in Justin Fields. And Zach Wilson's very close behind at number 3.
Yeah, and for me, I think the one difference is I think Zach Wilson's probably just a better quarterback when it comes to the mental side of the ball, right? I think he has better eye discipline, knows how to, look safeties off. He's just better at that aspect of the game for me. And I also think Zach Wilson arguably has the best arm in this year's class. The only problem I had with him was durability, and he only has 1 year of true production. And he also, his offensive line was really good. And so he didn't have as many like pressured throws, right? But other than that, I really like what you get from Zach Wilson. And I see the argument people are saying that he's number one because he has, I think, the best arm in this year's class. The reason I have Fields below though is because of the mental ability. Because I think he might be a bit tad slower in that aspect and making good reads. And it's the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. I think Ohio State's offense did him no favors because the Ohio State offense was really much a one read offense. And that's what sort of held back Justin Fields. That being said, though, what I really like about Justin Fields is I do think he has the leadership skills. I do believe he has the intangibles, right? And I do think that he's coachable, all that stuff, accuracy, his running ability. I think he has gotten better at reading defenses, and he's only improved. So for me, it's honestly a 2A, 2B situation, and you can flip them. They're pretty interchangeable. So I'd go Zach Wilson just now because I think he's just a better quarterback right now. But I can understand with Justin Fields being higher because I could make the argument he could go higher because I do believe it's very close between them. Now, at number 4, I have Mac Jones. You also have Mac Jones. I think the thing about Mac Jones is he's probably a late one prospect for me, a late first round prospect. What I like about him, his processing, he has a good enough arm. He's pretty accurate. But the thing that holds him back is his improvisational skills. He's not the best athlete. And I do really believe he has a pretty high floor, but he doesn't have that high of a ceiling, which is why I have him at 4.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Mac Jones, great prospect. I mean, he is a pretty great prospect. He does nothing. He doesn't do a lot wrong. Honestly, he's pretty good at passing. He's got a pretty good arm. Accuracy's pretty much there. The decision making is also pretty much there. Like you said, the only weakness here, improvisation skills. Yeah, he's not as dynamic as the top 3, and even you can even say Trey Lance on that list. But I think, yeah, he reminds me of like a late first round prospect, which isn't a bad thing either. There have been late firsts that planned out. For example, 2 years ago, our MVP was Lamar Jackson, who was pick in the first saw that panned out. So, I mean, yeah, that's probably the similar grade that I would keep him as. It would shock me, of course. We already talked about this if the Niners were to pick Mac Jones in 3. We even made a post the other day about why it doesn't make any sense, and I think that it's got to be a smoke screen on how Mac Jones could be picked at 3 by the Niners. It would literally be quite crazy to trade up 9 picks for
Mm-hmm.
a guy that in my opinion, in most people's opinion, is a late first round pick.
Both have we both have Trey Lance at number 5 on all. And it's interesting because I think most mock drafts, including our mock drafts, we have Trey Lance going above Mac Jones. And I think that's purely because you got to draft for ceiling, right? And Trey Lance has the highest ceiling, or one of the highest ceilings in this class. He has running ability. He has a good enough arm. His mobility is really nice. The only problems with him is I think he's definitely a project player. Like I think he's a project player, the same type of project player that Jordan Love was coming out of wherever he came out of last year, like Indiana, Illinois, wherever. I forget where Jordan Love was drafted from,
No,
but
I think he came from Nevada, I believe. No.
I have no clue, bro. That tells you all you need to know about Jordan Love. He's very not talked about. Trey Lance, though, the
Utah
thing that
State. Oh God, yeah,
oh,
Utah State.
Utah State, we weren't even close.
Yeah,
Damn. But anyway, Trey Lance, right? He's raw decision making. His decision making, Amal, what it came down to for me is whether or not he runs the ball, right? With his really nice running game in NDSU. They're a running game powerhouse like Alabama is in the SEC. And it was either run the ball, which is going to be a good play, or throw to somebody who's open by like 5 yards. And you're not going to have guys who are open by 5
exactly.
yards in the NFL. Like by 5 yards, I mean like 5 yards in every single direction. Like there would be defenders nowhere near players sometimes. Like, yeah, he has a great touchdown to interception ratio. Doesn't really fumble that much, right? He does have the best running ability in this year's class. I think he's better than Justin Fields in that regard, right? Because he's more physical, pretty good enough speed. But the thing that holds him back is his ability or lack of ability to process defenses. And also he does have accuracy issues. I do believe his mechanics need some cleaning up. And yeah, at some points he's really accurate. Sometimes his throws are like out of bounds by like 5 yards. And you're like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I agree with your analysis with Trey Lance. I think he's a very raw prospect, but his potential is high. His potential is high. We haven't seen a lot from him either. That's my problem here. I think he missed a couple throws in his pro day as well. Uh, yeah, there's just not enough to see on Trey Lance for him to be this high, and he is only my top 5 because of him as a prospect. He's dynamic, he's mobile, but I just don't know if he's just so young in the game. I can say that he's just young. In the game. He played one game this year, and that one game he looked like he would be an undrafted prospect. He didn't look good, so I can't say immediately off of not seeing him play at a high level at North Dakota State. Playing at a high level at North Dakota State is not hard. I can definitely say that when you're looking at film, it's not the competition is not at a high level. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I can only say he's this high because of him as a raw prospect. And
Mm-hmm.
if it works out, though, he can definitely be in the top 3, top 2 of this draft. Um, his potential, he's so unknown, and this is probably the most unknown prospect in the past like 10,
Mm-hmm.
15 years, because there's no film. There's not too much
More
film on
unknown
him
than
either.
Josh Allen too, I'd say. Um,
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Josh Allen played a year. Like we don't be like he played multiple. Like we don't have that much film on Trey Lance, especially recent film. That's what matters. So, um, Lord knows, honestly. And pro day throws.
yeah.
I mean, he missed a couple. So, I mean, I can say it safely that he's a top 5 prospect.
Okay, interesting. Number 6, our consensus. Kyle Trask. You have him at 6. I have him at 8. Um, what I like about Kyle Trask is I do think he has something when you watch him play. He definitely has some arm talent, accuracy, has some ability to read coverages, but I think he could definitely get way better in that regard. The thing that really holds him back for me is like we say Mac Jones might not be the best athlete. Like Kyle Trask is the definition of like I don't even know, man. This guy is unathletic. Like he can't run whatsoever. And the thing is, they'd like Florida would use him on like quarterback and runs. It'd always go for like a yard or two, and they'll just keep doing it over and over again. I'm like, dude, who are these coaches? What the hell are you seeing? They like running a QB read with Kyle Trask is a good decision. So that's probably why I have him ranked at number 8, just because his mobility for me is probably what will hold him back from being a true NFL starter. I think he's a round 3 target for me. And I like him as like a spot starter to like a career backup.
Yeah, so for me, Kyle Trask could be a starter in this league. I don't. You're kind of low on him compared to me. The reason I could see him fitting well with the team like the Saints, the Bucks. He played well at Reed. He had a great 2020 season. Yeah, the dude's not the most mobile dude, but I think his pocket passing ability is like it's in that starting caliber role, right? I'm not wrong to say that. So, and the competition he played against was pretty good. He played in the SEC. He played well in the games against Alabama. I'd take him as a pocket passer definitely over guys like Justin Fields, um, and I'll take him over Trey Lance in that regard as well. Mac Jones, I'll probably even take him there in that regard as well. But I think the thing here is uh, athleticism is the only thing that's holding him back, and that's the only reason I have him at 6. Um, yeah, I think the only thing that you need to see is look at his performance against Alabama in the SEC championship game. He didn't get the job done, but the way he performed in that game, I think it just showed to me that he definitely has NFL starting caliber capability. I expect him to go late day 1 to early day 2. I definitely think he'll go in the first 2 rounds. I'd be shocked if he fell past that.
Okay. And then my number 6 guy, he's our consensus number 7, Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. What I like about him, and he was your sleeper earlier on, probably like a month ago when we did our offensive and defensive sleepers episode. What I like about Kellen Mond is I think he has the arm talent. He has a great arm talent, great strength, knows how to zip in some balls, great deep accuracy. He has good mobility as well. His throwing form is a bit wonky, but like whatever. If it gets the job done for him, it gets the job done for him. The flaws with him though are again inconsistencies. And he honestly like he did improve throughout his 4 years at college at A&M, but he didn't really improve all that much. I feel like he improved, but it wasn't that big of an improvement. Um, that being said, though, I think his arm talent definitely warrants a day 2 selection for me.
Yeah, just based off arm talent, I agree. Day two selection for me makes a lot of sense here. Uh, probably, and I already described Kellen Mond to you guys. I put him as a sleep pick for me. Yeah, probably late second, early third. But I mean, honestly, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, like I said before, like we mentioned before, Kyle Trask, I have them all roughly in the same boat in terms of as a prospect as well. So. I think it's definitely fair to be in the same range as those guys, and I would not mind if Kellen Mond even were to go late day 1 because it's arm talent, man. The arm talent's definitely there.
Yeah, and finally, the last guy. He wasn't on your rankings, but it's a guy I know that we both watched. Jamie Newman out of Wake Forest set out this year. For me, he's again another day 2 guy. And I can honestly say all 9 of the guys. I'm not going to speak for Davis Mills. All 8 of the guys that we've talked about, I think, can be legitimate NFL players. And other than maybe Kyle Trask, I think they can all be like pretty high level starters if they go to the right spots and in the right organizations. What I like about Jamie Newman, again, he has the arm talent. He definitely has an NFL arm. And on top of that, he has good mobility as well. What I don't like about him is, again, his decision making. He doesn't really understand coverages all that well. I really like his eye usage. I think he does have the ability to, look off safeties and all that. So I think there's definitely something in Jamie Newman if you wanted to go with a day 2 pick. Maybe a team like the Chicago Bears. Same thing with Calamon, like Chicago Bears, Pittsburgh Steelers, those type of teams, I think. Maybe even like the Tampa Bay Bucks, because they know that Tom Brady. Actually, I can't say that. You never know if Tom Brady's going to retire or not, because he probably never will. But those are teams that I think are definitely worth looking at Jamie Newman for.
Yeah, the only reason that I didn't want to put him there, he also opted out. So yeah, I mean, obviously Trey Lance didn't have a lot of film to go over, but Jamie Newman, he transferred to Georgia from West. uh, and he I think he's pretty good. Like you said, he has a pretty decent arm, pretty good athleticism. But yeah, he opted out, so it was hard for me to see any of that. I think, like you said, the day two, late day two, maybe even day three, I could definitely see as a possibility in the fourth round. That would be a great pickup. Kind of like how maybe Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason fell. So that'd be similar for me. Day three, maybe in the
Mhm.
fourth round. But yeah.
Okay. Now we go to our running backs rankings, and we can start with the holy trio, and I believe the only trio that can end up being is like sole, like they're the number one guy in that backfield type of backs. We both have Najee Harris ranked at number one. For me, it's a question, honestly, all three of these guys, if they want to interchange them, for me, in my opinion, you can do that. And in order, we have Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, and ETN. We both had them ranked one, two, and three in that order. Now, what I like about Najee Harris is I like his patience, his tackle breaking. I really believe he's just a slower Derrick Henry. Like that's what I see when I watch him. Um, his initial burst, like yeah, he's slower. I think he's slower in the aspect that his long speed is slower, but he definitely has good enough burst. He catches the ball well enough to be a true like workhorse back. That's what I like out of Najee Harris.
Yeah, Najee Harris. I was very high on Najee Harris, man. It is close between him and the other two running backs that we have. But I think he almost already had that Heisman Award in his hands, dude. The dude after contact is just a beast, dude. And it kind of reminds me of former Alabama running back Derrick Henry. Uh, he's a natural runner, excellent vision. The patience is there. Yeah, I really like Najee Harris, man. I think for me he's strongly my number one running back here.
Okay. Now, Javonte Williams, what I like about him, his contact balance, and we're going to talk about use that word as well, contact balance for Travis Etienne, because they both have great contact balance. They have the ability to shed tackles. They do it in different ways, though. Javonte Williams does it with more power. Travis Etienne just does it by being like more slippery, I guess would be the word to use for him. But they both really have great contact balance. Um, he breaks tackles like Marshawn Lynch running away from reporters. Like it's ridiculous. Like his ability to use power, break tackles, and why I honestly might have him at number one. It's just I think he has a good blend of power and elusiveness and speed and balance and acceleration and jukes. Like he has spin moves. Like he has all that vision as well, patience. He has everything you want in a running back, which is why I'd probably put him at number one in all honesty. Like I just keep going back and forth. I just every time I talk about him, I talk myself into like putting him higher and higher. Like he started off at number four, then three, two, maybe one, who knows. Um, what I don't like about him is that his pass blocking was not that great, and he's not an elite pass catcher. But again, I think he's good enough. He's probably in the same boat as Najee Harris, where they're both pretty good at catching the ball. Um, yeah, Javonte Williams, I'm really high on him.
Yeah, Javonte Williams for me, I think he's a bell cow, Reeb. I think he's a dude that can take down that can take all three downs, and he could have like a 20 to 25 carries in the NFL per game. And he's looked great, man, in college. And yeah, he had another great running back in at UNC, but I think he still does role. I mean, he looked great, man. His downhill runnings, the balance was incredible. I think that's the main thing with him and ETN. So yeah, I think I like his yards after contact. It is close between him and for me it's close between him and ETN. For you it's close between him and Harris. Uh, but yeah, I just like I liked his ability to break tackles and the balance on top of that. Pass catching's decent between both of them. ETN is pretty good too, but I like Javonte Williams here and second and ETN at third. And when it comes to Travis Etienne, a lot of people there's people that have him even at number one in terms of the running back because as a prospect he's also quite good. Um, Etienne, I remember watching him freshman year when he was in Clemson. He looked great. Uh, in 2019, Arib, he'd averaged 7.8 yards per carry. And the game that I always remember watching was when against Ohio State in the opening round of the college football playoffs last year. It was the first meeting between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Travis Etienne, that's when it really stood out to me. Okay, this dude's legit. He has real NFL talent. I I think he's definitely got very high potential in this league. Uh, but yeah, it's different. Different, but he's different between Harris and Williams because his yards after contact isn't necessarily the same, and he's a quite small runner. So I guess that's the only thing that really is different between him and Harris, and of course Javonte Williams. But yeah, I think top three running backs
Mhm.
they'll all be pretty quality running backs, and potentially all three of them be Pro Bowl or all running backs in the future.
I agree with that for sure. The one thing that might separate the Javante Williams debate for me, Amal, and Najee Harris is Javante Williams is 2 years younger. So that might be worth considering, seeing as running backs usually like use them and then dump them after their rookie years. But rookie contracts. Now, Travis Etienne, number three for me. And the pro comp for him would be Alvin Kamara. The pro comp for Javante Williams would be just a beefier Alvin Kamara. Like, that's what I see. Travis Etienne, very great receiver, probably second best or third best receiver in this class. Definitely the best out of the big three. Elite burst, speed, probably the fastest and the he's probably the fastest and the most elite when it comes to initial burst. Gets skinny, can get open through these holes, his juke ability, decisive when he runs. The one thing I don't like about him is his patience, and he has a lot of load. Like he has a lot of load. He's been used a lot throughout college, and there's a reason why I think he's the SEC's all-time leading rusher. It's because he got a ton of carries, um, and I believe his patience. It's either like the thing about him is he's definitely a one cut runner where he'll see the hole and boom, he's through it. But if he doesn't see the hole, well, he's just gonna run into like defensive linemen anyway, and he's gonna get like negative 2, 3 yards. He doesn't really have that. He doesn't have the run sort of the patience yet that I'd like to see, which is why I have Javonte Williams and Najee higher because they have that ability to hit the hole, but they also have the ability to be patient and wait for the blocks to get set. And I don't think ETN has that. Moving on to number four, and our consensus number 4 and 5. It's between Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis and Michael Carter Jr., the other UNC running back, Javonte Williams' running mate. I'm going to start with Kenneth Gainwell just because I think Kenneth Gainwell, the reason why I said Travis Etienne wasn't the best receiver in this class was because Kenneth Gainwell is. Kenneth Gainwell is a phenomenal receiver out of the backfield. He has the ability to run routes true as a slot wide receiver. Uh, Great receiving ability, balance, speed, and burst. He falls forward, and I think he's kind of small, so he's like 5'8", but he has the ability to fall forward, which you wouldn't expect from him. Change of direction ability as well. He has that. He has the juke ability as well. What I don't like about him is I don't really know if he's truly a powerful runner. Like he does fall forward because of his momentum, but he doesn't really run with the same tenacity as like the other 2, 3 guys. Which is why I have him at number 5. You have him at number 4. And his blocking, obviously, he's not the biggest guy, so he's not going to be the best blocker. And the reason I have Michael Carter higher is because I think Michael Carter has more burst, and I think he's going to be um, more of a component in the running game, which is why I think I have him higher. That being said, both these guys, I don't believe either of them could be lead backs. They're going to be part of a running back by committee. Um, and Michael Carter, I look at him as more of an offensive weapon. Same thing with Kenneth Gainwell. They're both offensive weapons. I just think Michael Carter just has more burst for someone of like, he just has more burst compared between the two. So that's why I'd go with him. But they're both really good players, and I think can both be pretty solid contributors in a running back by committee.
Yeah, so I think they're both committee guys, like you said. I mean, it would be surprising if Michael Carter were to be a running back one. But that being said, dude, the student reminds me kind of like like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do you see? I don't know if you see that type of thing. He's quite small. Uh,
Yeah, I think he might be a better receiver than CH, but I see that.
yeah, I can see a little bit of that. But yeah, he brings that boost that you want towards your running game. I don't know if he can necessarily be a bell cow. Yeah, but yeah, he has talent for sure. And then Kenneth Gainwell, the reason I had him over Carter, um, is because I think Gainwell, I like him as a pass catcher more. I guess that's my only thing here. I think he's gonna be a great pass catcher. Uh, he runs routes very well. And I think Kenneth Gainwell could honestly become a wide receiver if he wants to. But the thing is,
Yeah.
quite he's quite he has a I don't know. I think you could even he could high key be used in the slot, dude. It's crazy
Yeah,
with him.
what I wrote in my notes for him was I wrote Bill Belichick is gonna love him because he's just like the standard Bill Belichick running
Bill
back. I feel
Belichick would
like.
love him. Kyle Shanahan would love him. Uh, a lot of these dudes that Frank Reich would love him. A lot of the coaches that like having those running backs out there in that type of system. I like that. That's the only reason I put Kenneth
Mhm.
Gainwell higher. You can move on.
Yeah, we both have Trey Sermon at 6. And the thing about Trey Sermon is when he puts it all together, which he did in the college football playoffs, he's phenomenal and he can legitimately be a bell cow. He has the speed, agility, power. I don't know if he's necessarily has the elusiveness of like the other guys that we've listed above him, but the thing that I like about him is when he put it together, he had the decisiveness, blocking ability, he had all of it to be a true bell cow back. The only problem with him was he didn't really do it. And if you watch his film, it's a tale of two different players essentially because either he looked early on in the season and early on in his career, he looks like he doesn't have it. Like he just doesn't look like he has the ability to be a running back. Like he has a shoulder injury as well, which might hold him back, but he didn't have that burst. He didn't have any vision whatsoever. He was just smashing into the back of his own guys. But when he put it together at the end of the season, he was phenomenal. And honestly, if you want to put him higher than Michael Carter and Kenneth Gainwell, you can do it, but he's doing that only off of ceiling and the limited games you saw him like
Exactly.
produce.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. The same thing. Uh, Trey Sermon. If you saw, of course, what you saw in the last couple games you've seen him play, shoot, you can even put him number one. But it's
Mhm.
so it's like you've only seen such little amount of games from him, and on top of that, uh, like you said, he's a solid running back. I think he can do everything. I think he might be all around. He's one of the best running backs here. I think he breaks tackles pretty well. He catches the backfield pretty well. He can pass protect. He can do everything, right? But the thing is, there's not enough games to.
Sample size.
It's not, and he's not. I don't even think he's anything super special either. I don't see anything that he stands out immediately and say that's one thing that he's extremely good at compared to like the others. Like for example, you like I just talked about Kenneth Gainwell, an extremely good receiving back, right? But like say that you can't say anything that Chris Sermon's extremely good at. But he does everything pretty well. So I think all around he's a very solid running back, and you can potentially see him as a running back one. And he could be a bell cow kind of compared to these different guys like Kenneth Gainwell and Michael Carter. So they could be higher. So
Mhm.
he could end up being a true running back one in the future.
A quick question before we continue on with this, Amal. So obviously we have Najee, Javante Williams, Travis Etienne. Those are guys who are round 1 to 2 talents. Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Carter, I put them like round 2 to 3, right? I think you'd agree with me. And then Trey Sermon, I'd put at 3 squarely. Maybe he could go late too, but I think he's a third round prospect. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I
okay with
just want
all
to
of
get our
those.
our round rankings.
The top three running backs could all go 1 to 2, rounds 1 and 2. I think
Mhm.
you can. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. So number 7, consensus. Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech. You have him at number. You have him at number 7 actually, and then I have him at number 9. What I like about Khalil Herbert, right? You said Trey Sermon isn't elite at anything. I believe that Jarrett Patterson, or rather Khalil Herbert, is elite at something. He's very elite at making guys miss. That's what I think he's elite at. Um, what I liked about him, I don't think he has the greatest like long speed, right? I don't think he has any of that. But what his strength is his change of ability direction, his leverage. He knows how to be physical. He doesn't fumble. He's very much he can be. I think he can be a leading back in a committee just because I think he has everything you want. He doesn't fumble. He has a good change of direction ability. Maybe he'll be a third down back, but he doesn't really have that passing game work whatsoever. I don't think he wasn't a nice receiver from what I saw. He dropped a couple way too many balls. Looked kind of awkward trying to catch the ball, but his game is definitely trying to make guys miss, and he does it really well at the collegiate level. And I believe that broken tackles metric I think that can sort of translate to the NFL.
Yeah, I think you hit it. You hit it absolutely right with Khalil Herbert. I think he has potential. My only thing with Khalil Herbert is that he's Virginia Tech. He I don't know how to say this. He he was quite thick, man. I think he's built. Uh, he's he has a leverage. He has great leverage. I mean, he has a low center of gravity. After contact, incredible too. But yeah, I mean, it's just like not a lot of. I didn't see too much of him, so I guess that could be my only reason for him. But I think I think he has potential. He has potential to also be a running back one because his yards after carry are
Mhm.
it is pretty good. So I'm not gonna deny that. So we can move on.
Okay, number 8, Chuba Hubbard. I have him at number 7. You have him number 8, or no, you have him at number 10 rather. Chuba Hubbard, you have to go off his 2019 film because his 2020
Fast.
film,
He's extremely fast.
yeah, his problem this year was he had an ankle injury and he just looked completely out of it. And he also has a fumbling issue, in my opinion. And he's a bit too tall to block properly. But uh, the thing with him is you're drafting him because of his size to speed combo, because he might have the best size to speed combo in this draft, including Najee Harris, just because he's a big guy, like 6'2", I think 220, I want to say, really big, has that ability to run really strong with power. Um, yeah, I like him. He can break arm tackles like crazy. He has some decent receiving work, and he for a bigger guy, I think he does have some ability to use some elusiveness and finesse to create missed tackles. But again, the reason why he's not higher for me is because of his ankle injury. It took a lot of his stuff. It took a lot of his skills, and if he can't bounce back from the ankle injury, then you're essentially wasting a draft pick because he was not good in 2020.
Yeah, I think the reason Chuba Hubbard I have him quite lower was yeah, Chuba Hubbard actually got his stock went down, and
Yeah, I
it's
think last year if he had declared, he would probably have been probably would have been with the top 3 guys in this year's class.
yeah, he would have been. So uh yeah, fumble problem still that was there. The only thing is, yeah, he's fast. He's damn fast, but he got hurt. He got hurt, man. So just off of how he played, how he was last year, I'd have to keep him here. I have him lower than you, but uh, if of course he bounces back and he recovers, he can become top 3 prospect here. So
Mhm.
the reason why we've listed so many running backs here is because they all have potential to become really good, right? They can all have
Yeah.
potential. Like for example, a perfect example, James Robinson was a dude that none of us even looked at last year. Undrafted, the dude was an absolute stud, probably the second best running back second best rookie running back last year behind JT, and he would have been the best one if he stayed healthy all throughout the season. He looked incredible, and he was a rookie running back. The Jags were screwed. They cut Fournette. Um, Raquel Armstead had COVID complications, and he stepped up and he showed off that he was the real deal, right? So why we're listing out all these running backs, I think they all have potential to become pretty damn good players. Like for example, even Mark Ingram split carries with Alvin Kamara, but that doesn't change anything because Mark Ingram still produced pretty damn well even as a running back too with New Orleans, right? And his legacy will be known from him excelling with Alvin Kamara. And I think it's fair to say that guys, even as running back twos, they can succeed. Kareem Hunt, we're
Mhm.
seeing that even in Cleveland. So even as if they're not a bell cow running back, they don't have to be. So
They're still going to be impact players for their
definitely
team.
still going to be impact players. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Okay, our number 9 guy, I'm lower on him. I have him at number 11. You have him at number 7. Jarrett Patterson. You can take the stage because you're a Jarrett Patterson truther.
Yeah, so I'm not even gonna take too long because I think Jarrett. I already said what's needed to be said about Jarrett Patterson. Just remember 8 touchdowns, 400 rushing yards in a game. But I think also in general, does he have weaknesses? Of course, I already said that before. But I think Jarrett Patterson, you just not every running back's just gonna have those type of games, right? I think the weaknesses that are there, of course, in his game, agility. He's not shifty. I guess that's some of his weaknesses that he has. But the dude is nice, Sarib, and I can't really show you otherwise. He went to a small school, Buffalo, so I guess that could probably be holding him back. But I'm a fan of Jared Patterson. He'll probably be going day 3, early day 3. I
Yeah.
could see him
Mhm.
going fourth, fifth round, probably fourth.
That's where I have him like marked as well.
But yeah, I can. I have him this high because I think he'll be a sleeper in this draft. That's all.
Yeah, for me, I just think he's a function, or rather, he's a product of a great offensive line in Buffalo, and I think he's decently fast. But other than that, like yeah, he produced, but I didn't really like anything from him. I didn't think anything stood out. I think he was just the running back who was playing behind a great offensive line in Buffalo, who played against like pretty dog water competition in whatever division Buffalo plays in, because I have no clue. Um, Now, number 9 and 10, or rather number 10, Colin Hill out of, where is he? Mississippi State. Number 10. And we're going to talk about our, I guess, Colin Hill or Demetri Felton for us, I think are interchangeable. They're both, I think, have the same exact like averaged out score. So we can talk about both of them before we talk about our 2 other sleepers and sort of, um, under the radar guys. Colin Hill, what I like about him is I really like his elusiveness. I think he has good feet. He's a good receiver. He has good blocking willingness, good combination of speed and burst. Like he has everything. He can break some leg tackles. I think he again he can be a guy who can be a bell cow of a running back by committee. What I don't like about him is sometimes I think he just tries too hard. Like he's fast. He has good burst. I don't think he has great deep speed. He gets caught from behind a lot, but he tries to use that initial great burst to get outside too much. Where like he might have some lanes that are being set by his offensive lineman, but he would just bounce it outside for no reason, and then he would get tackled for like -2 yards, and the offensive linemen are like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's my one flaw with him. Demetric Felton, he's just a James White clone, and he's not all that fast, but he's a receiver who's playing running back essentially.
Yeah, Demetric Felton's a guy that I was quite high on. Uh, Demetric Felton. The thing is, Arib, you could consider him also as a wide receiver because some scouts do have him
Yeah.
listed as a wide receiver, and
Lined up at wide receiver in the pro day as well, I believe. He
exactly
did a
like
lot of
he could
drills.
compete honestly as a slot receiver if he wanted to. And if you saw, I was watching a bit of this. I was looking at him. He slot and during the Senior Bowl, and apparently teams were impressed by how he played at the wide receiver position. So maybe disservice if we listed him as a running back, but I'm gonna go off of him at running back because this past year he played pretty well as a running back. Um,
Hmm.
Looking back at film, his game against Arizona stood out to me. Uh, Southern Cal USC, but I think yeah, that I mean just the dual threat running back. Those guys always can scare you. So I guess that's why I was high on Demetric Felton.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
and
And
then
now,
Kylan Hill.
yeah, Colin Hill, go for it, bro.
Yeah, Kylan Hill. He's a guy that I can see potentially even entering into late day two if teams are really that high on him. Uh, I looked at his game against LSU, of course, and that game
Hmm.
he was just incredible. Uh, Blocking he's pretty good at. He's shown a good amount of quickness, strength, and natural running ability. But I think the problem with him was that he wasn't good at finding holes. I guess in his game, I guess that was my only weakness that I saw in him. Uh, but yeah, I mean, Kylan Hill is a dude that like also has potential to be a great running back in this league.
I'm just thinking of a pro comp for Colin Hill because I don't really know. Like maybe best case scenario, he has some thump to him, so maybe like a Kareem Hunt with like worse vision. Like that's what I see, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, but we can talk about the guys that just missed the cut and
Davis.
maybe, yeah, I don't know about that. Um, yeah,
I
we
don't
can.
know. It's interesting. It's definitely
It's
interesting.
yeah. You can talk about Ramondre Stevenson, who's the guy who just missed the cut for you, and then for me it would be Puka Williams out of um, Kansas.
Yeah. So Ramondre Stevenson. He was a running back that I think just missed the cut for me. I was thinking about putting him in here, but last second I chose not to. Ramondre Stevenson, he had a lot of different. He had some interesting. He's been overlooked in my opinion. He's a pretty solid running back. I think his strengths are there, but I think the weaknesses that he does have, he's not good in a one-on-one situation. Uh, I think he is uh he's very good on the field with this explosiveness. He has pretty good speed, but like I said before with Trey Sermon, nothing that he does is elite per se, and also yeah, he's not super fast either. So I guess that's my only criticism for him.
Mhm.
In terms of explosiveness isn't really there. So yeah.
Yeah. Puka Williams, I'd say he's the complete opposite of Ramondre Stevenson. My comp for him, I think I text you to this. He's a discount Saquon Barkley. And the reason I say discount is because he's like 170 pounds. So he's definitely discounted in where he has none of the power that Saquon Barkley has, but he has all the speed and the burst and the elusiveness and the pass catching ability. And I think he has the ability to be a home run hitter to where it looks like he's behind the line of scrimmage caught and then boom, he'll break it off for like 30, 40 yards. And you'll be like, how the hell did that happen? My negatives, the same negatives that Saquon Barkley had coming out of college, because he has natural great running ability and he knows that he can make guys miss. And sometimes he'll just try to do it too hard and he'll get caught behind the line of scrimmage doing weird juke moves. And he'll make, instead of trying to go for the easy play and getting like a positive gain, he'll try to make it unnecessarily difficult and he'd lose like 5 yards. And again, he's lighter, 170 pounds. And I also think he has some character concerns. I forget what it was. I think he had some beef with like the coaching staff or something at Kansas. So I think he might have opted out part of the season because of that. But that is my final take on Puka Williams, and we can go to our wide receiver rankings and more. So I guess almost halfway through. I'm going with our
Already an hour
consensus.
in.
An hour in. It's going to be a long pod, baby, but it's fine because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Our consensus 1, 2, and 3 for wide receivers go in order: Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Jamar Chase, I just think he has the production and he has the deep playability. I think I hit on this. I recorded a mock draft and that'll be coming out probably right after I upload this podcast to the channel. But What I hit about Jamar Chase, what I liked about him was that he has the ability to make deep plays to the point where like he didn't play in 2020 and he still had the most 20 plus yard receptions in 2019 and 2020 combined, which is ridiculous. He like half the sample size and he completely demolished that category. I think Devontae Smith might have been number 2 in that category. Um, as well. So shout out to him. Jamar Chase, he has the physicality to beat press, decent route running, pretty good athlete. Not overly athletic, but he has the ability and the speed to make guys miss. And he has some decent ability to get downfield and be a deep threat and also run after the catch.
Yeah, so Jamar Chase. I mean, we already talked about these dudes
Mhm.
many times, especially in our mock draft. So I'll keep it short. Jamar Chase. I saw probably one of the best prospects since Amari Cooper. Uh, Great athlete. Honestly did not see many, if not any, weaknesses in his game. If
Mhm.
you want to check out more on Jamar Chase really and how he is as a prospect, you should check out our YouTube channel. We posted it a long time ago. We
Back in
posted
January.
Yeah, we posted it quite some time ago. We posted a Jamar Chase film review. Uh, yeah, so I think that shows you how we think of
Mhm.
Jamar Chase. And I think in terms of film review, I think his film's probably like most interesting because he just gets open. Like, what's the need of he's just there. He's like wide open
Mhm.
almost every play. So uh
And he's a contested catch monster as
and
well.
he's also a contested catch monster. So I mean, he's got everything you need in him. And people do have him in the top 3 prospects, top 2 prospects, right behind Lawrence. I've seen people as high as 2, 3 for him. Uh, but yeah, he's definitely my number 1. And then when it comes to Devonte Smith at number 2, uh, it's just the fact he had the best year out of anyone in college football last year. Looked He was dominating games single-handedly. Absolute beast. The weakness for him is just his injury risk. It's the risk that's really there in his game. I think that's my only downside when it comes to Devontae Smith. He it's this frame. He keeps on believing that it's not an issue. Um, but we'll see how that goes. And then Jalen Waddle for me, injury risk is another reason that I could see him falling. And on top of that, he's reminds me of a lot of the Tyreek Hill speed wise. I just got to see it translate and see to believe it. But those 3, Jalen Waddle, I've seen on many boards being higher than Devontae Smith. I can see that because when Jalen Waddle was on the field, Reeb and Devontae Smith were on the field simultaneously. Jalen Waddle was pretty like that. I'll put it that way. So
Mhm.
I can definitely see. And entering into this season, Reeb, people were higher on Jalen Waddle than Devontae Smith. So I can definitely see a possibility of Jalen Waddle being picked ahead of Devontae Smith. So yeah,
Yeah, and that would make no sense for me because people are saying the
agreed.
injury risk is why you wouldn't pick Devontae Smith, but Jalen Waddle actually got injured and Devontae
Exactly.
Smith just didn't. And
Exactly.
Devontae Smith, yeah, he's light. He's like 165, 170 pounds. No one knows except him. And he might not even be stepping on a scale because he doesn't want to know. He might be that light. The only guy who's as light of him as him is probably like Tutu Atwell. He's like 160. The guy of air, where is
But
he? Louisville.
he's also pretty small though too. But
Yeah, he's smaller. The thing about Devontae Smith, he's an outlier in weight. He's also an outlier when it comes to his jumping ability. He's an outlier when it comes to his just his reach, his wingspan. I looked it up, is the same as Russell Westbrook. It might be even longer than Russell Westbrook's, which is
crazy.
ridiculous. He is a freak athlete in his own regard. Great route runner, good enough speed. People are saying he's going to get pressed to like oblivion, but the thing is, he's too quick to get pressed. He like you try to press him and boom, he's gone already. Great burst. He doesn't have the best long speed, but um, it's good enough to get the job done and be definitely be a great deep threat player. Because some people like DeAndre Hopkins, he's definitely a deep threat player. He gets open down deep, and he's not the fastest player. You don't need to be like a Tyreek Hill to be a deep threat. And I think Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase both have enough speed to be deep threats. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill is the comp. He has everything you want: speed, burst, acceleration. Use him as a running back. Use him to dump off passes. Use them deep. And the thing that's scary about him is he has the route running to back it up. So it's like It's not just blind speed. He has the ability to run good enough routes where he's not dependent on purely his speed to get open, which is what I like about him. And he also makes some nice contested catches here and there where he's not like a jump ball guy, but he can use his hands and his catching ability. He is definitely he's not just a fast guy, he is a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, our consensus number 4 would be Rashad Bateman. You have him at 5, I have him at 4. What I like about Rashad Bateman, another great phenomenal route runner. He gets open. He's a Keenan Allen to me. Like I see the separation ability. Um, he's pretty good at making jump ball receptions. Just thinking off the top of my head, the one thing I didn't like about him is first of all his pro day was whack. He was listed at like 6'2", like 210, and his pro day like knocked him down to like 6 foot and like 190, and it was just sort of like suspect. Like why was his number so like messed up? But another thing I didn't like about him was I just felt like his play speed was awful more. Like sometimes he looked really fast and he had that burst. Sometimes he just didn't. And maybe he did. Maybe he just was heavier in 2020, so he looks slower. And that now he's slimmed down, and now he's actually at his normal playing weight of 190. Um, so yeah, his speed is inconsistent, but I like what you get from Rashad Bateman. I do believe he can be a true wide receiver one.
Yeah, I agree. That pro comparison that you brought to Keenan Allen makes a lot of sense, honestly. Uh, Rashad Bateman's probably also one of the safer picks in this draft. You know what you're getting from him. Uh, I think you could. He has a true wide receiver one capability in this league. Uh, he he put up big number. He could have had great numbers this year, but Big Ten canceled the majority of their season. Uh, but yeah, I'm also just as high as you. I have him at 5. You have him at 4. I
Mhm.
mean, he's going to be a good receiver.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the guy who you have at 4 above him, Kadarius Tony. The stage is yours, my friend.
Yeah, so for me, Kadarius Tony, this is a dude Reeb actually introduced to me, and then when I looked into it, I fell in love with him. Uh, he's probably what a late day one, early day two type of prospect. I could
Yeah.
see him going in the 20s. Uh, Washington would be a good place to go for him, but we've already talked about that. But I think with him, it's the speed. I like the speed that he has. His ability is great. Quite dangerous. He's great. He plays on the outside. Arib. He could be used as a slot. He kind of reminds me of a Debo. I don't know how you feel
I
about
like
that.
that comparison actually
But
a
I,
lot.
I saw a lot of Debo Samuel and Kadarius Tony because he can be used Urib as anything. He can be used as an outside receiver, as a slot receiver. He can even be used as a damn running back for all that you know, right? And he could create separation extremely well. You can see that in the Senior Bowl. Uh, Senior Bowl, he looked great there. Um, and yeah, he's just you do not want the ball in his hands, and that's why I'm higher on Kadarius Tony than I am on Rashad Bateman. His upside, I just like his upside more than that. So for me, that's why I have Kadarius Tony there at 4. And we're transitioning Arib into a league where we have guys like Debo Samuel there.
Yeah,
Like
I can understand that.
that's why I have Kadarius Tony that high.
Yeah, and I'm high on Kadarius Tony as well. I have him ranked at number 6 for me. What I liked about Kadarius Tony, you said dangerous. I think that's the perfect way of saying it. He's probably the best ball carrier, and that includes running backs, tight ends, whatever quarterbacks in this class. Just because I think he has the elite ability to make guys miss, and it looks like he doesn't look like I don't think he has the best deep speed. Like he makes some deep plays here and there, but his separation for me comes from his route running during the intermediate to short area of the field. Um, that's what I like about him. But on top of that, after the catch, or just give him dump offs or screens or give him end arounds like a Debo Samuel. And he's not as powerful as Debo Samuel, but I think he makes guys miss in a way that Debo Samuel can't make because he's just super shifty and all like that. I think that's the best way of saying it. Dangerous, shifty, best ball carrier. He has spin moves in his arsenal. He has jukes. He has stutter steps. He has just everything. And I think his elite skill is making guys miss, which is why I have him pretty high. I'd say at number 6. Again, he's a round 1 to 2 guy for me. However, our consensus number 6, I have Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU. I have him higher than Kadarius Toney at 5. And the reason why, because for some reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know if Kadarius Toney can be a true wide receiver one, and that might just be because he had Kyle Pitts, who was de facto wide receiver one there. So Kadarius Toney never really was a wide receiver one at Florida, whereas I think Terrence Marshall was. Terrence Marshall was 6'4", I think 210. For a guy who's that big, he runs super fast. He actually is a deep threat. He has way better deep speed than Kadarius Toney. He has jump ball ability, which is you saw that on display with Joe Burrow in 2019. I think if he hits, then you're getting someone who can legitimately be like, I think maybe like a Kenny Galladay would be a good comp for him. Like he could hit that type of ceiling, whereas like you're just like, holy crap, he can do everything on the field. One thing I didn't like about him, I guess, was his route running wasn't the best, but he has all the physical tools to be a menace. I think that's how to say it, a menace in the NFL. Go
Yeah.
for it. Go for it.
So for me, yeah, my bad. So for me, I had Terrace Marshall. I don't remember what I
You have him at
believe I
6.
had him. Let me double check. I had Bateman, so I had him at number 6. So Terrace Marshall, he got overshadowed, of course, by Jamar Chase when he played,
And
um,
Justin
but
Jefferson.
and Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I mean it's quite unfortunate. He was going to be the number 2 receiver, but Jamar Chase, of course, opted out, and he played pretty well, man. He's quite dynamic as well. Uh, yeah, you talked about Kadarius Toney's speed. I think his deep speed is unmatched. Honestly, his deep speed's there for sure. Uh, honestly, he's also a mismatch, Reeb. I mean, the dude's 6'4". He's 6'4", 200.
He's huge.
He's huge. I mean, he is literally a mismatch. So if he pans out, holy crap, that's scary. That is very scary.
Mhm.
Um, he's probably I could see him slipping into day 2. Kind of like a type of pick, maybe early day 2. I can definitely see that being a possibility here. You can move on.
Yep, and now we have they're not Moore brothers, but the two Moores, Rondell Moore out of Purdue, our consensus number 7, and Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of what was he, Ole Miss? Ole Miss, yeah, Ole Miss. Both of these guys I feel like are kind of similar almost, Amal. As in, I think they're both pretty good when it comes to being deep threats down the field. Why I have Rondell Moore higher, and Rondell Moore could even be like number 5. Like you could probably put him above Kadarius Toney. His only problem is like, yeah, he produced really well. He's a freak athlete. This guy's like, he's like 5'7", but he has a great vertical jump, great athleticism. I mean, in the weight room, he is this year's Saquon Barkley when it comes to squatting, deadlifting, all that fun stuff. His injury risk is what holds him back. But what he's good at doing in the field is he has the speed, he has the ability to make some nice contested catches for a guy his size, obviously. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. And he's just fast. He has elusiveness. Like I just liked everything about Rondell Moore in that aspect of the game where you could clearly see like you watch him and you're like, damn, this guy, he definitely is faster than most of the guys that they're playing at Purdue. And he just has that ability to be I think, I don't want to say a Tyreek Hill because I don't think he's as fast as Jalen Waddle, but he's probably the next best thing in that department.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Rondell Moore was a guy that I thought he could have been wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 entering into this draft because he was one of the Heisman candidates entering this. He came off an ACL injury, and then this year he got hurt. So then he didn't even play many games in the Big Ten. And when he
Yeah,
played,
he
he
had a
looked pretty good.
hamstring injury this
And
year.
then he had a hamstring injury again on top of that. So the injuries risk was the only reason Rondale Moore was is lower. But I think he's an overall just a better receiver than Elijah Moore.
I agree with that.
Elijah Moore is just track speed, dude. That dude is just. I mean, that's all you can really say, dude. He
Yeah.
literally has track speed, and if you utilize him right, then of course you're creating a mismatch there for sure. He has
Rondo
elite speed. I
Moore.
can 100% say that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rondo Moore for me he's an elite weapon. Like he has the ability to make great catches. You can use him in the backfield like a Jalen Waddle, end arounds, all that fun stuff. And there are a lot of smaller, faster guys in this class. And we're gonna talk about another one later on. But Elijah Moore, what I liked about Elijah Moore was I think people say he's DJ Moore, and I can kind of see that in all honesty because I can understand that pro comp. What I liked about Elijah Moore was he had that speed. He's a smaller guy as well, but he had the route running to compensate for his size or lack of size. Good hands, great burst, initial burst. Again, another offensive weapon type of dude where he was used off dump passes and end arounds and dump offs and all that stuff. Good balance. He's another guy who's pretty good, similar to Kadarius Toney after the catch, and again similar to a Rondell Moore. All those guys, I had them 6, 7, and 8 because I just think injury risk included. I think Kadarius Toney is just better than Rondell Moore at that, but Rondell Moore, he has all that ability. Same thing with Elijah Moore to make guys miss, versatility. Um, and route running, I think Elijah Moore has that as well. What I didn't like was, again, he's smaller, so physical DB has definitely overwhelmed him at the line. And his route running, I think his out running was good when it comes to slants and out and ups and goes, but I think um, he can work on it, sort of cleaning it up a little bit. But again, what I like about Elijah Moore, he just plays bigger than what he's listed at. I think he's listed at like 5'9", 185. He plays way bigger than that. So you got to give him credit for that. And I think now we have our consensus number 9. I have him at number 13. You have him at number 9, I believe. Deonte Brown, the wide receiver out of UNC. He was your sleeper. I believe he might have been my sleeper as well. I forget. But Deonte Brown out of UNC, what I really liked about him, actually, you can take the stage because he's your guy. You have him higher than me.
Okay, so what I really liked about De'Ami Brown, sorry to be cut up there. But what I liked about De'Ami Brown was that he was just he was different from the other prospects in that in a way that I don't know if you could describe it with other people. He was a deep threat, Uri, and kind of like Jamar Chase. He would his deep ball game was there, man. He was he didn't. The only problem with him was dropping the ball. I think that's where that's what we discussed Tommy Brown sleeper the last time we mentioned him. Probably more of a day 2 prospect, if anything. Uh, but yeah, he has great build up speed. I, from what I'm seeing, yeah, I think just yeah, I think he's
He's a deep
dropping.
threat for sure.
Yeah, deep threat's just the main thing. Yeah, he's quite fast, man. I think he probably runs 4.4 speed, 4.45 speed. He's
Mhm.
pretty damn fast. I think yeah, from watching film, I can honestly just say you need to watch him not for the deep ball. So
Yeah.
that's all I can really say there. He's probably for me he'd be. I think he's a day 2 prospect. If you ask me,
Yeah.
I don't know if he will go. He could go late day 2, early day 3. I think he's day 2 though.
Yeah, I'd put him day 2 for sure, like in the second, probably late second to early third range. Again, I think he's very solid at a lot of things, Amal, but his main bread and butter is being a great deep threat. So the reason I don't have him higher, I have him at 13. The reason why is because I think Dwayne Eskridge, the player out of Western Michigan, you have him at 10. He's our consensus number 10. I have him at 12. I think Dwayne Eskridge is a better deep threat than Maul. And I think I pro comped him to Deshaun Jackson. And I really like that pro comp, if I don't say so myself, if I can't say whatever that saying is. Dwayne Eskridge, he's a wide receiver, and you can definitely see first of all, to be Deshaun Jackson, you needed the speed. He definitely has the speed to be that. Not only does he have like the deep speed to get separation downfield, because he is a deep threat, and I think he's a better deep threat than De'Ami Brown. He also has the speed to run after the catch that I don't necessarily know if De'Ami Brown has. Um, Dwayne Eskridge, I don't know if he's the best contested catcher, but he has the ability to make catches that he shouldn't make, especially alongside the sideline. I really like what you get from him in that aspect. Um, His inside outs are really good. Great hands. Yeah, his hands were phenomenal. He just plucks some balls that you wouldn't really expect someone like Deonte Brown drops a lot of balls, which is why I have him lower than you do. Dwayne Eskridge doesn't drop balls like at all. What you can't really like about him though is his competition. Obviously, he played for Western Michigan.
That's the main thing,
Mhm,
right? There's no competition. But that being said, small schools have brought out great players. Of course, we remember Antonio Brown. So, you never know when it comes to that. So,
mhm.
hey, maybe you may be right about the Dwayne Eskridge. I have him pretty high too. I mean, I can say top 10 is still pretty high. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Tylan Wallace is our number 11. I have him at 9. You have him at 13. So he gets right in the middle, averaging that out. Tylan Wallace might be the best jump ball receiver in this year's class, which is crazy because he's kind of smaller. Amal. He's like 6 foot. So he's not definitely like the tallest guy, but I really liked his jump ball ability, and that is his bread and butter. Um, that's what he succeeds in college. I comped him to Marvin Jones, who another smaller guy, I think like 6'1", who's another great jump ball wide receiver. That is what you're getting in um, Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State. And he's another guy who's like round 2 to round 3 for me. If you just need a guy who he's just overall pretty solid, good hands, decent route running. He's not like spectacular in anything, but I think his jump ball ability is what makes him spectacular.
Yeah, I think you're good. I think you got it. I think you've said pretty much what I wanted to say there. You can
Mhm.
move on.
Yeah. Number Amari Rogers. Okay, Amari Rogers is our number 12, I believe. Amari Rogers might be the best slot wide receiver in this year's class. He was my sleeper, so I'm not going to go crazy into him, but he's built like a running back, runs like a running back, has great route running, good enough deep speed to be good enough deep threat. And he's just a good old reliable slot wide receiver. So that's what you're getting in Amari Rogers.
Yeah, so for me, Amari Rogers, he was supposed to be the wide receiver too for Clemson, but then of course, Justin Ross got hurt from the previous year, and he still has not. He didn't recover at all, so he didn't play at all this past year, and he took on the load Amari Rogers as being that running wide receiver one. But I think for him, Arib, I think in the NFL he's got to be a slot receiver, right, Arib? But the thing is with him, he's quite small. I think that's what's holding him back, right? And he's
I
not the
think he plays
quickest dude,
bigger than his size, though. That's what I like about him.
but he's also not super quick either, dude. I don't his speed's not. I don't know if his speed is there. Like he doesn't in
I could
game
see that,
too.
like his burst. You mean? Like I think he
Yeah,
has good
yeah.
enough deep speed. I could see the
Deep speed, of
burst
course, but yeah,
requirement.
yeah.
Um,
He
I
doesn't
could
burst.
understand that. Yeah.
His 40 time, I would have. I don't think he's that fast either. Yeah, that's my main thing with Amari Rogers. That's why I'm not as high on him.
Yeah, and talking about speed, we can go to maybe the fastest guy in this year's class in Tutu Atwell, whose name is actually like Chardavius Tutu Atwell or something like that. It's ridiculous. I guess going by
Yeah,
Tutu makes more sense.
too. Well, I think I'm higher. Am I higher than him than you? I would
Yeah,
say no.
you have Tutu at 11. I have Tutu at 16. Um, this guy's really fast, Amal. That's his game. Another very fast guy who's gonna get end arounds, and he's gonna be used like a Debo Samuel. What I
Yeah,
don't like what I don't like about him, he's like 160 pounds and he has no power. So if you blow on him, he falls over. Like he has no tackle breaking ability in that regard.
watch him go to the Chiefs, Reeb. Watch, you're gonna get mad, and
I
he's
mean,
gonna.
he could be a great deep threat too. So if he's replacing Sammy Watkins, I think he could do a good job. But
Yeah, but and then you're gonna talk about how Mahomes is pissing you off again. So you'll see. But yeah, I think not forget the Chiefs. I think in general, I think he's just a quick dude. Like you said, probably the fastest guy in this draft. Um, yeah, there's nothing really much to say there.
Mhm.
We'd already discussed Elijah Moore. We discussed Jalen Waddle, and I think he falls along those lines. So we can move on.
Yeah, Amon St. Brown, our number 14 out of USC. For me, he's another guy. He's more of a slot wide receiver in all honesty. That's where he lined up mostly for
Great.
USC. But He has some jump ball ability. I think his back shoulder fade and his jump ball ability is what makes him stand out. But
I'd like
I also
Indy to
just,
draft him.
yeah, maybe. Um, I just, I have him at 15. You're a bit higher at 12. I don't think he's spectacular at anything. I don't think he has great tackle breaking ability. I don't think he has great speed or burst. I just think he's okay. So, like, he's a round 3 guy for me. I think he's going to be pretty stable and he can be a solid wide receiver
I
4,
like
wide
his
receiver
route
5.
running. That's my main thing with Monroe St.
Fair
Brown.
enough.
I think that's my main thing that I saw from him, his route running, and I liked his balance as well. Those were the two things I liked
Hmm.
the most about Monroe St. Brown. But yeah, weaknesses, I guess the quickness, I guess, could be a weakness. Um, yeah, I guess that's probably my only
Hmm.
strength. Maybe he needs to bulk up more because he's only like one. Yeah, he's a pretty small dude, 5'11". Yeah, but yeah, we can move on.
Yeah. Finally,
You can say your last dude. It's fine.
um, actually, okay. I'm gonna save my last dude for later because
Yeah.
I've already talked about him. But I guess consensus would probably be between Sage Surratt out of Wake Forest and Jalen Darden out of North Texas. I'm gonna talk about Jalen Darden first, just because I don't think you really watched him. But Jalen Darden, what I like about him, another fast guy, another really fast guy, smaller as well, 5'9", like 185 pounds, but he's a great wide receiver. He has great routes. He's not just someone who has speed. He definitely is a wide receiver. He has the skills to run great routes, good hands, good deep speed, can make guys miss. He's just another he's a joystick. I think that's the best way to phrase him. And that's why I liked about him. Sage Surratt out of Wake Forest. You have him pretty high at 15. I have him down at 21. He's just another he might just end up being my Chase Claypool, where I say he's slow and he ends up being way faster. But I just think his play speed wasn't there. He doesn't get deep separation, but again, good hands. He's another jump ball wide receiver. So I understand why you have him in your top 15 because he's a good jump ball
Yeah,
player.
yeah. My only criticism, was separation. That was my only criticism there. Everything else I had him pretty good at.
Fair enough. And then my last two guys, I'm going to talk about Tamarian Terry out of Florida State. He's a very I'm going to say like I said, I think I said Puka Williams in the running back segment was a discount Saquon. I see Tamarian Terry as a discount DK Metcalf, where he has the side speed combination. Um, it just and he also has the same drop issues that DK Metcalf has in the league as well. I just think someone needs to take him in round 2, and you're just going to be okay with it if you use him to his strengths, right? And then finally, Daz Newsome, I have him at 18, another slot wide receiver. What I liked about him, I just liked his route running, his hands. He's another speedier guy who he plays a slot, but he can be a deep threat as well. So that's what I like from the wide receivers. Any like under the radar guys, or I guess guys who just missed a cut for you, Amon, before we move on to tight ends?
Nah, nothing else for me. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So tight ends, our consensus is going to be pretty much the same. Top 3: Kyle Pitts, Pat Fryermuth, Braven Jordan. Kyle Pitts is round 1. I see Pat Fryermuth and Braven Jordan as round 2. Braven Jordan maybe like the 3rd round. You can fall into there. Kyle Pitts, we've already talked on it, and if you really want to know what people think about him, just go to every single YouTube channel. They're all going to be saying the same thing. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver, and he's a damn good wide receiver.
Yeah, so I think the top 5 we have the same dudes, right, Reeb? So not really too much to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is undisputed. Kyle Pitts, no questions. I think you can honestly, if you put him at wide receiver, Reeb, where would you put him, Reeb? Would you keep him at wide receiver 1, or would you keep him at wide
Yeah,
receiver 2?
I think a pro comp for him could be anyone who's a good jump ball wide receiver who has some good speed, like maybe like a Mike Evans or a Kenny Galladay, because
In
he's not
this
a
class,
tight
would you
end.
keep him as wide receiver 1
Would I put him at wide receiver 1?
over Chase?
No, I wouldn't put him above Chase, I think.
I'd put him over Smith, but I don't know if I'd put him above
Yeah,
Chase.
I'd probably put
But I
Chase
think as a
above.
prospect, I'd take Pitts over Chase. So it is interesting. I think I like Kyle Pitts' upside, so there's not really too much to talk about when it comes to him. Second, Pat Fryermuth. Uh, I believe you have him second as well, Reeb.
Yeah, and for me, he's a Zach Ertz type of player. I think
Exactly. Yeah.
he's a good receiver, good catch radius. I don't think he's that good of an athlete like Zach Ertz, but he has the ability to be a solid route runner and just
Could
makes
see
be a
potentially
nice
late day
pass catching
one.
tight end.
Could see a late first round pick in him. Probably day
Yeah, I
two.
agree.
But third, I had, I believe, Brevin Jordan. Did you have?
Yeah, Brevin Jordan out of Miami,
Yep.
is it?
Correct.
He has injury concerns, but he's an athlete who's
High
good
potential.
speed. Yeah, high potential. He just needs to work on, working on his skills at being a receiver, being more consistent catching the ball, being more consistent running routes. But he's a round 2 to 3 guy for me. And I think Pat Fryermuth is a more polished prospect and is a better blocker, which is why I put him above Braven Jordan.
Yeah. And then number four, I'm assuming.
You have Tommy Tremble at number 4, I believe.
Yep.
I want to say.
Yep.
Um, Tommy Tremble, he's an athlete. He's an athlete who has shown good spurts at being a tight end. It's just that he hasn't been all that consistent putting it together, I feel like. And also, he just has no sample size because he split with like 5 other tight ends in Notre Dame. So you're just hoping that you can sort of hit on him as being as an athlete and on that limited sample size that he could maybe be something. He's a round 4 guy for me.
Yeah. Then I have Hunter Long out of
Yeah.
Boston College, I believe is where he's from. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
that's
just
my last
another
one.
wide receiver playing tight end. His blocking is
Exactly.
not there. He's 6'5", 254. He's just not all that great of an athlete, but he's another pretty solid receiving tight end. And I'm going to throw in another name, Amal. A guy I have higher than Tommy Tremble. Zach Davidson, the tight end out of Central Missouri, 6'6", 245 pounds. Just another guy who he's not that good of a blocker, but I think overall as an athlete, not the fastest guy, but he has good enough speed, great athlete. Just overall like agility wise, I'd say. And again, another pass catching ability, jump balls. He's a really good jump ball wide receiver downfield. So maybe he's a good jump ball wide receiver because he doesn't have the speed to separate downfield, but he was able to position himself in pretty good spots to catch these balls. Um, yeah, we can move on to offensive linemen, Amal.
Yeah,
Let's just
last but
last.
not least.
Um, First of all, we have Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater 1 and 2 in that order. The tackles out of Oregon and Northwestern, respectively. Penei
Not
Sewell,
yeah.
yeah, I have him higher because he has the upside. And the thing with Rashawn Slater is Rashawn Slater has everything that Penei Sewell doesn't have, but Penei Sewell can gain the things that Rashawn Slater has. Rashawn Slater
Correct.
can't gain the things that Penei Sewell has. Rashawn Slater, he's a great guy, great footwork, great hands and feet, great at maintaining his blocks, all that. I just think he can never move as fast as Penei Sewell can. And that's why I'm going to give the edge to Penei Sewell. And also Penei Sewell is just stronger. He has the athletic ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think there's nothing to question here with Penei Sewell at number one. And then numbers two, Rashawn Slater, also nothing to really question. Can play multiple positions. And it was also learned today. I also learned today that Penei Sewell is also training to be right tackle as well, so he can become multifaceted. So yeah, the it's always good to play multiple positions on the line. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, top two undisputed in my opinion. So you can move on to
Talking
three.
about multiple positions, though, Mal. Elijah Vera Tucker, the guy out of USC, he's another first-round tackle for first-round offensive line prospect. He's an all-pro guard who can play pretty good tackle play as well. And his tape was honestly boring, Amal. You have him at 3, I have him at 4. We're splitting hairs, pretty much. He's boring in a good way. He's patient. He's elite pass blocker, versatility because he lines up wherever you want him to. Probably other than center. Um, The one thing I didn't like about him, and it's very much nitpicking, he wasn't an elite mover. He's not the fastest guy in space, but he's good enough. And if he's playing interior offensive line, he doesn't need to be the fastest mover. He just needs to get to the spot before the defense gets there, and he can do that more than like well enough. So, um, yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC, pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Elijah Vera Tucker, yeah, I'd consider him more of a guard, but he could play center as well, I believe, and he's pretty decent at tackle, so he can play honestly all three if you really wanted him to.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, he does all three pretty well. He was in college, so yeah, I'm a fan of what Elijah Vera Tucker does.
Yeah, and number 4, we have Tevin Jenkins. I have him at 3, so he's a top 3 prospect above Elijah Vera Tucker for me. And you have him at 5. Tevin Jenkins, he's just a mean guy. Like he has the tenacity you like to see in an offensive lineman. He has that offensive lineman mentality. He likes to hit. He has great hands and great feet. Um, One thing that might be a knock, and it's not even a knock. He's a right tackle. Like I like, and the thing is, left defensive ends end up being the better defensive end these days anyway because they're trying to play against the worst tackles. So at the end of the day, he's probably going to end up going against the best pass rusher on the other team, and he's just a phenomenal tackle. He might be more of a right tackle, but I just love everything you get from him. His hand usage, he's mean, good play strength. I just love everything about him. Pretty good mobility as well. He's just tenacious.
Yeah, so for me, the only weakness that I saw in Tevin Jenkins that put me lower than where I had him was I thought his balance was kind of off when I saw him.
I agree with that actually. Yeah.
So I think that was probably the only thing that I had a problem with. But otherwise, yeah, quickness is there. Powerful, my gosh. Very quick, like I said before. Um, but yeah, he can. I think as a right tackle, he's probably the best right tackle in this draft. So, uh,
Yeah.
I,
And I have
I'm
him as the third best tackle in this class, period. So
yeah,
take
yeah,
that with
yeah. So
whatever you'd
yeah,
like.
yeah,
At number 4 or number 5 rather, we have Christian Darrisaw. I have him at 6. You have him at 4 above Tevin
correct.
Jenkins.
Yeah,
Darrisaw, he's an athlete and he knows how to put it all together. He's a running game monster, maintains his blocks really well. He's pretty good movement and power for a guy of his size. What I didn't like about him was it's a tale of two different players. Like if he's playing against elite competition, it looks like he's the best tackle in this class. But if he's not, then he just seems to slack. He seems to be kind of lazy, in my opinion. And we'll see if that he can work out of that in the NFL. And also another thing, he struggled against faster guys. I remember off the edge, and I think that's not a factor of like him not being able to keep up with them. I think his footwork coming off the block, it was just a bit choppy and slow. And if he can work on that, then that shouldn't be an issue in the pros. But I love him out of Virginia Tech for sure.
yeah. So the only reason I had him higher was the awareness. Awareness was elite. That's why I mean that he had great balance as well, great length, and then yeah, the awareness was just on point from when I saw film. So that's why I
Mhm.
have Darrisaw higher.
Yeah, and going to interior offensive lineman now. So Landon Dickerson is our consensus 6. You have him at 7. I have him at 5 in my top 5. And honestly, he'd be higher, but I'm keeping injuries into consideration here because he's had 4 season ending injuries, them all ACLs, Achilles. Like, I don't even know what injuries he's had, but he's had everything. Um, but other than his injuries, I don't really see a flaw in his game. Maybe his balance as well,
He can
slightly, but
also play center and guard. Yeah.
he plays center guard at high levels for Alabama. He's has the leadership ability as well. He was looked up to. This guy tore his ACL and still came in and played a playoff game. Um, I think this year or last year, one of the two.
Last year, I
Phenomenal
believe.
player. He'd be a round 1 player, but I knock him down to round 2 due to his injuries. But he's just
Agreed.
a he's just a monster
Yeah,
in the center.
you got it right. I agree with that
Mhm.
analysis.
Number 7, another center, Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. Again, he's very boring. I think what he's good at, he's a very elite pass protector. So if you need someone to protect someone in the middle, he can do that very well. He has a good base, good understanding of leverage. His head is always on a swivel, so awareness as well. Might be a knock is um I think he lacks elite strength and movement, but again, he played in the SEC, I believe, and he was phenomenal. So um I don't know how big of a knock that could be. And
Yeah,
again,
I think you got that right as well. Yeah, you can move on.
yeah, number 8, Liam Eichenberg, the tackle out of Notre Dame. Um, you have him at number 8, so you can talk about him, Amal, because you have him higher than I do. I have him at 10.
Yeah, so another guy that I would like the Colts to target Liam Eichenberg. Liam Eichenberg for me, he's got great. I think he's a prototypical type of left tackle. Uh, my only weaknesses with him, I liked his balance. There's some flaws, but I didn't see that too much. But the ability, I liked his ability. His angles when working up on the second level, I saw that, Arib. I don't know if you could see that in his game. But I was also a fan of that. He's probably gonna start a right tackle, even though he played left tackle at Notre Dame. I think he's probably gonna be one of those guys that transitions towards the right side because of his job, and I think because of the way he positions himself as a pass protector. So yeah,
Mhm.
I like
Yeah, he's
Hackenberg.
very technically sound. He knows how to use his hands and his feet, and he's good at anchoring. He's just not an elite athlete, so that's why I'd probably put him at 10. But I think at my tackle rankings, he's ranked at number 5. Number 5 for me. So, number 9, Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. I have him at I have him at where do I have him? I have him at 13. You have him at 6. So you're really high on him. So again, take the floor, Mo. I want to hear why you're high on him.
Yeah, so Jalen Mayfield for me could have honestly been higher, but my main thing with Jalen Mayfield is I loved his inside positioning. He's got a square build, great strength, great balance. His foot quickness is okay, but I like the leverage that he brings to his game, strong hands. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I thought of him as a very effective offensive tackle, and I think he's going to be a day one. I think he'll be picked in the first round as well. I think teams are also seeing what I see in him. I think he's a very very strong guy, a strong offensive tackle that doesn't have that many weaknesses. I think the only weakness that I could potentially see, yeah, is probably quickness, foot quickness. I think but that's only in the passing game. I see that as a potential weakness, but I think he's very consistent, and I think
Mhm.
he looks like it. He looks the part.
Okay. So I have him at 13, and I agree with everything you said. I'm going to include the fact that he's a very physical run blocker. He loves to hit in the run game. What I don't like about him, and it's why he's the number 13, and it's not that I don't like it, it's just I think his sample size is way too small. He only played 2 games in 2020, and in 2019, he got beat badly by he played an elite gauntlet of pass rushers like Chase Young, Shaka Tony, Yetur Gross Matos. Like he got beat by all these guys last year in 2019. I think he has all the tools to be a good player, which is why I have him as a 1 to 2 round player. So I like him. I just not as high on him as you are. Um, Number 10, Samuel Cosme, the tackle out of Texas. You have him at 11. I have him at 12. What I like about him, length, size. I like his recovery athleticism, and he's a great pass blocker. What I don't like is his suddenness. And also, it's going to be a common trend with these later tackles, but I think upper body strength. I think he lacked that, similar like another guy like Dylan Radunes lacks it out of NDSU. And again, you could just put them on some of that nice special sauce and, help them gain some weight. They're going to lift a dumbbell in the NFL and they'll gain like 15 pounds magically in an unhumanly amount of time. Like
Yeah,
it'll happen. And I think he'll be fine,
yeah.
but
I
he's an
think
athlete.
you got that one right. Yeah,
Mhm.
I have nothing else to add to that.
Okay, Alex Leatherwood, 11. You have him at 9. I have him at 14. His athleticism definitely shows off. And again, similar to Jalen Mayfield, he's a run blocking mauler. Maul loves to hit. What I didn't like about him was I honestly just think he might be too big. Like his speed in the run game is okay, but his speed in the pass game is just terrible. I think he gets beat by speed way too often around the edge. And his recovery athleticism, because he's too big and his feet are too clonky and too big for him, he just doesn't have it. So that's why I have him ranked a bit lower at 14. But I think his athletic measurables, if he loses some weight, I think he can be a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I think you got that for the most part, right? I think my main I like his mobility here. Uh I don't know you're gonna mention Deonte Brown. I think you're probably gonna talk about him later on,
Mhm.
but I see I see a lot of mobility in him. Short area explosiveness, I see that as well. And I think he's also one of those guys that are multi positional guard and tackle. So that's why I'm a bit higher on him than you. Yeah, those weaknesses are there, but I think
Mhm.
that's all. He like obviously I think finishing blocks. I think that's probably like I'm gonna compare him, for example, to Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins is a beast at finishing blocks. You saw that on film, and I think Alex Leatherwood could improve on that. But yeah, Leatherwood. I mean that's fixable. Finishing blocks is definitely
Mhm.
fixable. So yeah, I'm what I'm seeing because yeah, he plays multiple positions here.
Fair enough. Dylan Radunes out of NDSU is 12th for us. You have him at 12. I have him at 11. So pretty similar ranking. What I like about him, I like his length, size, combo, his strong base, great pass blocker, and he's another Pro Bowl guy. I'm all who he needs to go to the Pro Bowl and prove that he could face elite competition. And he was kind of suspect day one, but day two he
Senior
definitely
Bowl,
figured it
Senior
out.
Bowl, Senior
Senior
Bowl.
Bowl, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, not
yeah,
pro day. He's a Senior Bowl monster, and he showed that he could play against elite competition. And again, my only flaw with him was I think his speed. Um, his speed, I guess, against the edge wasn't the best, but also, yeah, his strength wasn't there. But again, he'll eat a burger after he takes some special sauce and he'll gain like 15 pounds. So he'll be fine.
yeah, yeah. That's good enough for me. You can move on.
13, Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State, interior offensive lineman. Um, I have him at 15. You have him, I believe, at 14. So again, pretty similar rankings. He pushes up to 13 because he just has a higher average. But what I liked about Wyatt Davis, his tenacity, his power in the run game. He's definitely a more power run game based guy. His hand placement in the run game was good. His strength, unlike the previous guys, is good from the interior spot, and he definitely gets off the block
He can
really
play right
fast.
guard or right tackle as well. I believe.
Yeah, I believe he can do that as well. What I didn't like is again he's a bigger guy, so why I like him in the power run game is because the power run game doesn't need as much speed. Uh, he doesn't have the greatest speed, and that's why I think he's more of a power run guy a run guy, yeah, run game guy. My bad. Um, but yeah, his I guess his speed and his quickness isn't the best when it comes to that type of run gaming. And also he had some injury issues. I believe he tweaked his knee, I believe. So that's probably
Yeah,
something worth talking about. But
yeah,
otherwise, yeah, I like him.
yeah. I think you got most of that right. I think inside, yeah, his inside zone. I think he's laterally pretty quick. Um, yeah, I think he's a great run blocker, but I think that's where his game. That's where I think that's his bread and butter. Uh, I expect him to probably be playing right guard, but he can also play right tackle.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and now Mo is a very intriguing prospect. Very intriguing. Another Stanford guy, Walker Little, the tackle out of Stanford. And he's interesting because he was injured in 2019 and then COVID happened. So you're really going off his 2018 film. I believe he tore his ACL in 2019, right?
yeah,
What you saw in 2018 though, you saw great footwork, great pass blocking. Again, another guy who his fundamentals are very strong. He knew how to anchor well. He knew how to use his hands and all of that. You liked his intelligence. Again, his head is always on a swivel. His awareness was there. But again, his flaw is that we haven't seen him play in 2 years. His injury concerns are there, torn ACL, and I think his power and his strength was a little bit questionable. So, but otherwise, I think he could be an elite pass protector at the next level. It just his question marks are injury.
Yeah, but yeah, I can see that. Um, I think a game. So for me, Walker Little, he did get injured many times throughout his entire college career, and there's not too much film on him, but I think the dude, he's an excellent run blocker, Reeb. I think he can take on the double teams as well pretty well. Uh, I think he's I don't know how to say this, but he can take up the pressure pretty well. And there's not many weaknesses that I see in his game other than health. I think he honestly the same level as a Christian Dare saw. But I think the main thing with him is health. So we just got to see more from him. He's only played 72 snaps this past year, so that's nothing. That's like one game, maybe
Yeah.
2 games. So
Hmm.
I mean, you can't judge so much on that. So
Agreed. Okay, number 15. I think it's just gonna de facto be James Hudson because you haven't watched the two guys I want to talk about, and I haven't watched one of the guys you want to talk about. So James Hudson at 15.
yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
it's probably going to be James Hudson for me.
mhm.
Uh, so for me, James Hudson, I thought James Hudson, like I've already talked about him many times before. Fun fact about James Hudson, he transitioned from being a defensive end in high school to becoming an offensive tackle. I thought that was pretty interesting. Uh, and I think him as he's a project prospect at the end of the day. We already talked about that with him. So he is quite raw, but I think uh I think he has the potential to become something special. Like obviously the concerns are there. I think he needs to control his weight. I think that's definitely a thing. I think he could probably add 10 more pounds. Uh I think yeah, he needs to become more athletic. I don't know how he can do that. Uh but yeah, um he's in a very intriguing prospect for
Mhm.
sure. Uh
He has all the
he
measurables,
Yeah,
I would
why he's
say.
powerful, explosive. Yeah, I mean there's not I can't really definitely on radar and is a sleeper. I can definitely see him falling to day 3. Uh I'm higher on him, but I can definitely see him falling to day 3.
Yeah, he's like a round 2 to 3 guy for me. Um, okay, finally, we're gonna hit on our two guys who just missed the cut. Two of them didn't miss the cut for me. I had Trey Smith, the tackle out of Tennessee, at number 8, and then I had he's a guard, my bad. And then Deonte Brown, the guard out of Alabama, at 9. And what I like about Trey Smith, he has versatility. He can play every single position on the line. He's a great guard, great tackle, and he can play center as well. He's great strength, anchoring people. He knows how to move bodies in the run game. What I didn't like about him, I felt his hands were kind of inconsistent and his speed wasn't all there. But I think when it comes to just the versatility he brings you, I have him really high at number 8 because of that. And I think he can be a really good pass blocker, and as well as just, I think what you get from him is strength and all that. I think he can be a pretty good run blocker as well. I think he's probably going to be more of a guard because of his lack of speed, but I like him at that interior offensive line spot or air tackle, wherever you play, he'll be good. I see him sort of as like an Elton Jenkins from the Packers, where he plays like every single position. And then Deonte Brown out of Alabama. Holy crap, this guy. He's like, okay, first of all, to preface this, he's like 350 pounds. So he's extremely, extremely big. And my one negative on him is that he's just fat. That's all I have written down. FAT, he's fat. That's my negative. And that's, you can assume what that means. He's slow. But from a guard position where you don't have to be all that fast, I think he moves pretty fast for a guy who's fat. Like he moves really fast for someone who's 350 pounds. His anchoring ability is there in the pass game. Again, he has the power. He's bigger than everyone, so he should have that power. Um, he's a run game mauler, pass game mauler. It's just someone that big shouldn't be able to move that fast. And I believe that if he does slim down and get even faster, he could be phenomenal from the offensive guard spot. So that's what I like about those two guys. And then I guess you got your last guy as well.
Uh, yes, I do. Um, my last guy is also kind of, I, I would consider him somewhat under the radar. I don't know if would you consider him under the radar?
Quinn Miners,
I would think he is,
I
but
think he's under the radar for most people. I don't know if he's under the radar for like NFL draft gurus because I think a lot of people have him going like late day two.
really,
Um, yeah, from what I've seen, he's definitely like a late day two to day three guy. But from what I've seen, but again, you're the guy who's watched his film, so let us know what you saw from Quinn Miners. Out of where is he from? Like Bowling Green or like I don't even know. He's like some random college.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he went to, I believe he's a D3 prospect, I believe. No, Reed.
Yeah, he goes to Wisconsin Whitewater.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
guess that's in Wisconsin.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the only thing that you could say. But I think this is kind of like not the germ like the Kyle Duggar pick from the New England Patriots, right? It's a D it's you're picking guys that are like extremely small school, but like thing, right? The dude is not. He's got great leverage, got speed, and his game does translate to the NFL.
Mhm.
I mean,
He's another Senior
easy to say
Bowl
that
guy.
when you're playing D3. Yeah, I mean, as a run blocker, he's great. As a pass protector, he does pretty good. I mean, the only thing, yeah, he's D3. That's my only concern with him is competition. So, uh, but yeah,
Mhm.
I think
And
his
he's
Senior
another
Bowl
guy who,
performance is the
yeah,
only way that you can judge him. Yeah.
his Senior Bowl performance, from what I've heard, again, I've never watched him because I don't have all the time to watch all these boring offensive linemen. But Quinn Miners, from what I've heard from all the draft gurus that I follow and subscribe to, they all said his Senior Bowl was really good along with Dylan Radunes, and that's why those two took a
Those guys are
massive
moving up.
bump up
Exactly. Yeah,
because
agreed.
they faced competition and they proved that they could play pretty high. But yeah, that should be it. A long podcast today, really long podcast. I believe almost 2 hours. But what are you going to do, man? We got our quarterback rankings, running back rankings, wide receiver
Yeah.
rankings, tight end.
I mean, I'm just looking forward to this
Mhm.
draft, man. At the end of the day, that's
Same.
it's coming up sooner than we think. Sooner than we think. It's almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. Just under 2 weeks. We get this draft going. Uh, you be into day two, 2 weeks from today. So that'll be fun to watch. But yeah. Um, Other than that, well, next week we'll probably have our defensive rankings out of and probably do it in a similar format. And but yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. Very deep dive into these prospects. And I've got to say, I love diving deep into these prospects, especially because I think we know more about the draft now, and we'll know more about it day two and day three when we cover the draft, which we will be doing. We will be recording podcasts the day of the draft. And yeah, that is it from me. Thanks for listening to episode 67. Again, very long, but yeah, thanks for listening. Peace out and bye.